Small Talk is the show where we express ourselves with small randomness. We fill every show with something different. There is no topic too big or too small for us to cover. Our show doesn't have a real path that we follow, and that's what makes it fun to watch. So let's get to the show. Hi guys, it's Monday, which means it's Small Talk. So, I guess I'm not talking to my mic.
I was going to say, like, talking to the mic.
Let's do some rearranging here. All right. Well, like I said, it's Monday. It's Monday.
It's Monday.
It's Monday. This is going to be a show of quite literally total randomness. We've done it before, but I've had a path somewhat to it. I literally have nothing today. So, we're going to go with the flow. Thanks, Vinny. Might have Teddy chime in a little bit here.
I want to be included today.
Vinny, we struggling there? Sorry, guys. What you can't see is Vinny was closing the door and then opened it and then... and then it flew open again. It's like there was a wind, a storm. You know, we had a storm, tropical bands smack us this past weekend. I don't know about you, but I drove through the rain. I completely avoided to stay dry, which is a complete shock. But I guess that's what happens when you work all weekend. You go in before it rains, and you leave after the storm is done, but you see everyone drenched, like coming in drenched, so you know it's raining out. Positive note to work all weekend, though. But, so yeah, my other producers were like, well, what are you going to talk about today? I was like, I have nothing. They were like, well, why not reflect on the last 6 months of COVID and being 23? I was like, okay, I guess. So yeah, COVID, we've been through it about 6 months now, which is crazy to think about. To not think I'd be 23 and going through a pandemic in my senior year of college, and yeah, that's a bit crazy. And I know I'm not the only one going through this. Like, there's millions of people who are my age going through life, work, school, and just day-to-day things. Side note, I kind of started planning a wedding in the middle of COVID. That has not gone too well, actually. Really haven't done much of anything. Kind of looked at a couple of venues, but that's about it. So, reflect on being 23 and in COVID. Or in a pandemic. It's okay, I guess. Teddy, you can chime in here if you want. But, I haven't had to deal with too much change. I mean, yes, there was change. I was furloughed for about 2 months, 3 months. Yes, Freddie?
Good morning.
Good morning. So I was furloughed for a couple of months, started this in between that, then went back to work, then had to deal with work and this, had to juggle that, which has been fun because the hours, obviously at the mall, are different. So it's kind of been a bit of a struggle because our hours changed, the numbers in the store itself has changed. Like, we used to be a $7 million store, now we're like a $2 or $3 million store, so it's been a drastic change, actually. That's like thinking about like that. The 7 million to a 2 million doesn't sound like a lot, but it is. So we're not getting as many hours, so it's like we have to work less because there aren't stores not making what they used to. But you know, it's an adjustment. And then obviously school's different. Schools are open, but they're not. I have one class, so I'm pretty lucky compared to some of my other friends where they have like 4 classes, and like they have to totally do everything online. And we're in the field where it's production, so it's a lot hands-on, not like a sciencey, mathy thing where it's kind of okay to do online, and then other aspects for like labs and stuff where you need to be on campus, which I think for classes like those, they are offering, like, you can be on campus. But for our field, my field, it's kind of a bit of a challenge to be online and going and doing this because there's a producer here who actually is in one of the classes I was in last fall, and it was so much fun. It was great experience. Like, we had project after project after project. Like, it was a lot of work, don't get me wrong. It was fun at the same time because we had these assignments where we had to go out and produce films, like make actual films. And she's struggling a bit because it's not something that you can just do online. And like, if you're trying to troubleshoot, like, thankfully she has her own equipment, but there's some people like me, I don't actually have my own sound and camera and all of that stuff to like really go out and shoot. So I had to rent stuff from the school. And then you gotta go to school and try to figure out logistically, how am I gonna rent stuff? How am I gonna be able to go and get equipment so I can make my projects? It's a bit of a challenge here. So online school, it's good, but it's not. Like, obviously we're staying safe and we're not being in a classroom full of like 20 other people. But if you're trying to troubleshoot a film or you have questions on how to do this or that, it's hard. It can be a challenge. And I myself am in the point where I feel like the class I'm in was completely altered because it's not a face-to-face, it's online. So I feel like the stuff we're doing isn't the stuff we should be doing, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, I think it makes sense. I totally agree with you.
So, like, if you, Teddy, chime in here, if you've ever had, like, say you were in school and you had to deal with online, how do you think you would adapt? Do you think it would be a challenge? Do you think you'd like it?
To tell you the truth, I think I would have had to take a year off because I've done online classes before, and I am just, with my personality and whatever is happening in my brain, I can't do online classes. I absolutely cannot do them. I have failed 2 online classes.
Right.
Like, it's just not something I can do. So
Right,
I think I would have ended up taking a year off.
There's, like, educators and then you don't walk in front of the camera.
Yeah.
There's administrators that I think need to keep in mind, like, this isn't ideal. And I think when we all made the switch to virtually, like, halfway through the spring semester, this was temporary. I don't think anyone would have thought that the rest of this year, the rest of 2020, we would be having to finish school or just do school online. Like, there are things that can be done. Like, they have obviously stuff made up for people's schedules because not everyone has the same schedule, that if they want to be online, they could, but if they want face-to-face, they also could. And I guess it's a challenge. I, too, think that if I had known better, well, first of all, if I had known that I only had 1 class left, I would have done it. I would have attached it on to my spring semester and been totally done. But didn't know that, so I guess that's my fault. But if I had more than just this one, I, too, probably would have taken just this semester off, the year off, because I'm not an online learner. I'm hands-on, which I guess is why I took such a hands-on approach to school. Like, I took a major that is so hands-on that it's what I do. It's fun. But yeah, being in my 20s in a pandemic, it's definitely been a challenge. I don't know, have you had any challenges during the pandemic, being in your 20s? Because you just turned 25.
Yeah.
Right?
I think the biggest one is just, and it sounds so stupid, but not having the experience to know what to do in these situations. Like, when we were all applying for unemployment,
Right.
when I had to call jobs and see what was going on, when we had to call the city to see what was going to go on, like, I've never had to do any of that before. So now having to be an adult and living through something like this, like, I never had that point where I was an adult and we lost power and I had to call FP&L.
Right.
Or, our dishwasher broke and now I'm being the one to call instead of, like, my parents. So it's a very weird thing not knowing what I'm supposed to do. And I feel like everyone else knows what they're doing.
Right. And I, like, being in your mid-20s, I think, in general, pandemic, non-pandemic, is a whole life-altering experience. Like, I remember when we were talking about this right before the show, and we were trying to figure out what the heck I was going to be talking about, we were talking about hurricanes. And Teddy and I both have mid-September. Well, she has the beginning of September. My birthday's actually in a week. And so we have birthdays that are like in the smack middle of hurricane season. And like, yes, for those of you that are like, well, September's like towards the end of hurricane season. It's the middle. We're in South Florida. We don't get storms until like the end of August, beginning of September here. But this year was different. This year's just been like crazy. There was that whole storm we got at, I think it was like end of July we got a storm, little baby storm.
Yeah. End of July, beginning of August, I think.
Yeah. So that was real weird. But we've all had, I remember being when Wilma hit and just all these other storms. I think Wilma hit in like 2005. And like we didn't have power for 2 weeks. We didn't have school. Actually, I lied. I think we did have school. As soon as schools got power back, we went back, obviously. But it's like having to deal with stuff like that, like how do you? You learn as you go, as my dad would say. It's like you get through life, you go through day by day, you just basically live day by day with some things. And with hurricanes, a pandemic, it's all the same. No one knows how to do. There's no one in our time span in our lives right now that have been through, say, the Spanish flu, but also this. And it's like, there's no book on life on how to live through a pandemic, how to live through a hurricane, how to adult in these new challenges. Honestly, it's a new learning experience, I think. Just if you're in your mid-20s or 30s or whatever, and you're living through this pandemic and you're understanding how to get through it, good for you. You know, we're all learning together. Teddy and I are a year apart, so our lives aren't that much different, but our other producers here are essentially our parents here, so it's like they're learning how to get through this. They're running a business here, trying to figure out how to support their families as well as help us younger people get through and learn and how to get through everything together.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think everyone in the world is trying to figure out how to do this, and no one really knows what's right, what's wrong, how we supposed to grow. You know, we've had times where we've had hurricanes and there's fires on one side of the country.
Yeah, that's a whole nother story. I think Mother Nature is just like,
yeah,
it is pissed off at the world because like I heard that like over the weekend I heard that there were fires on the other side of the country, but my mom would yell at me for this, but I am not a person to sit down and watch the news every day because it's
depressing.
I get depressed by it.
Yeah.
So like I have learned in the last couple of years that I don't watch the news or I don't pay attention to a lot of the news unless there's like a hurricane coming.
Mm-hmm.
Because just hearing after day by day, oh, there's a new storm. Oh, there's another storm. Oh, it's coming this way. Oh, it's changed. Like I guess I grasp onto things I dwell on things too much. So to sit there and watch news day by day, it's depressive. So to hear about all these fires on the other side of the country, it's just like...
Well, I think also the news, you start to think that's not always reliable.
That too. And it's like, I hear, you know, there's like, how many different news stations are there?
A million.
There's Palm Beach, and then there's Broward. So, like, when I would stay at my grandma's, I'd hear Palm Beach, and when I would go home, I'd hear Broward.
And then are you listening to NBC,
or
CNN, Fox? Right. Like, who are you listening to?
Right.
Who do you trust on anything?
I know Channel 7 upscale things, and 6 and 4 don't, and that's Broward stations. And I don't know, Palm Beach, I guess it's 5 and 12, or the radio stations. But it's like different people upscale and downscale things, or put a more dramatic effect on things, which they're the media, they're the news. They're supposed to put dramatic effect on things to get people all hyped up. But for people like me, I don't need the hype. I just need the details, the if and the whens, the buts, the whatever. I don't need that all that extra dramatic effect because it overwhelms me enough to hear, oh, there's fires on the other side of the country. Oh, but also, here's Hurricane Sally, I think it is. And side note, how did we jump from P to S? Where's Q and R? Where are those storms? Are they out there somewhere? I don't know. So, Yeah, I don't watch news, but
I can't. I get all my news off
Yeah.
of like social media because I feel like at least there people aren't pretending to be unbiased.
right.
Like you know what someone's thinking. Someone's going to say I hate this or I love this. I feel like on the news they pretend so hard to be unbiased, but then they are very biased a lot of the time.
Right, and then even on social media, on like Facebook and stuff, they're still upscaling. They're still being very biased about things. And
Oh
it's
yeah.
like,
But at least you're aware. Like if I'm talking to, person A who's my friend on Facebook or someone I follow on Twitter, I've at least followed the person enough to know where they stand on things.
right,
So I can see their news and I can kind of know how much of a grain of salt to take it with. Or I can be like, this person's been really objective and actually reads all the stuff because I follow them, versus news, which I hate to say it, but like a lot of newscasters don't write their scripts. They don't all
Oh,
write their
no.
teleprompters. The channels give it to them.
anchors don't write scripts, and you know that.
Exactly, yeah.
There's
So
script
like,
writers that write their script, and they just read it off the teleprompters, and that is that.
so like Sally Mae could be the most non-partisan, like completely non-biased news anchor, but she works for station XYZ that is super, super biased to one
Right.
side or the other. Even if I know her and I trust her, I can't trust the news because the station's pushing her one way or another. They're telling her what to say.
Right. So it's also like, who do you believe? Who do you want to believe? What do you want to believe? I have actually been, since I've actually started interning here, I've actually, like, I took the Apple News app off my phone and I recently re-downloaded it so that way I could stay on the up and up a little bit, so I'm not totally out of the wind, because I hear stuff through the grapevine, through my parents, here, at work, wherever. And it's good to be on the up and up, but at the same time, it's like you don't want to overstimulate on things. You don't want to understimulate things. So, I'm not saying don't watch the news because, like I said, I get yelled at all the time about not watching it, not having an opinion. But I'm just very monotone, I guess you could call it. I'm just not.
I don't think so.
I don't care to sit and over exaggerate and just get into the nook and grains of things. So
Yeah.
you could tell me about it. I get a few details and I'm good.
I think some things go a lot more on morals than
Yeah.
anything. You can listen to something as much as you want. You can listen to someone being for or against certain subject as much as you want. But if your morals are in one place, then, because I kind of do that. People tell me like, oh, I'm really for this or against that. I'm kind of like, okay.
Right.
And then just tune out their reasoning because my morals are for or against it the other way.
And you have to also be able to form your own opinion on things and not just have one thing go in one ear out the other and just like, oh, they're saying this, so my morals and opinions should be just like theirs. No, you have to be able to have your own opinion on things. And I think it's a generational thing. Like, my generation is just either very for things or not. Or I know a lot of people my age where it's like, well, I do care about this, but I could also care less. Well, not care less. Care less is actually the wrong word. Prefer not to get too in-depth with things. And I think I'm very much like that.
Yeah.
I think Teddy is even a little like that. I'm not going to speak on her behalf.
Yeah,
but
no,
like,
I think I am.
It's just a generational thing.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people, we had talked about this with Dawn and Freddie earlier, how a lot of us don't really, like when voting, none of us are really committed to a side. A lot of us are either independents, or, and I'm not going to speak for who's what, because it's illegal.
Right.
But I can speak for myself. I know I'm an independent. I know I'm not the only one at the station who is an independent in our generation, I'll say that. And yeah, it really is about, you get things from both sides and you have to figure out what you believe, and there's truly things that I don't believe about either side, and it's not just political, it's for a lot of things. When you
Right.
hear people arguing over something morally, I understand both sides, and that sometimes I don't agree with either side.
For me, and I think, again, when I just kind of stepped away back from the news was when the Douglas shooting happened, because I am in Broward, so that was a very
Yeah.
big part of my life for a certain time. Not that I knew, I did know someone from there, but it was just, it's hard to go through day by day and just have this opinion over opinion over opinion, and it's like you gotta take a break sometimes and form your own thoughts, form your own opinions, and there was a lot of controversy over that. And I think there's are still people that are still grieving and getting over that, like 9/11, like
Yeah,
everything
the Sandy
else.
Hook, like every
any
shooting and tragedy.
every drastic thing that has happened in the last decade, more century. There's gonna be a lot of opinions. There's gonna be a lot of controversy, and it's just how you get through it, I think.
Yeah. I think that you have to have your own opinion, but I think at some point you can't have your own opinion so much that you're ignoring fact.
Right. You still need to take in facts.
Because I know that, like, there's still people who, the Holocaust, like, there are still people who don't think it's real, or there are some, real neo-Nazis who think that it was justified. And I think at some point you have to say, I'm allowed to have my own opinion, but you do actually have to listen to facts and be like, my opinion is this, but there are facts and proof and multitudes of it that it did happen, or there are laws that say this, that, and the other thing, so I guess I am. Like, you have to be open-minded enough to listen to the facts, to know all the facts from both sides, and then form your own opinion.
So we're going to turn this onto a better note, because
Yeah.
as we got more into this, I was like, wow, this turned real fast. Real dark, real
Let's
fast.
bring it up.
So, like I said, I am in my 20s living through a pandemic, and I guess that's where it went south real fast. But there are pluses this year. What are some pluses? I'm graduating. That's a plus.
Yeah.
We're still living and breathing, and everyone I know and love is still living and breathing. There was a new baby that came into my family, not mine. But there's another new baby coming to my family, and like that it helps remind us that it's a new day. People are living and growing, and babies are coming into this world, and it's a magical thing.
Yeah.
I lied. There was 3. There's a lot of babies coming into the family on both sides, and you know what? It's a good thing.
Yeah, my niece just turned 1, and it really is.
Amazing.
It's something that whenever I'm upset, I will call my brother, my sister, my brother-in-law, or my, their whatever, and I'll call them and be like, "Can you FaceTime me with the baby?" And babies don't know; they're just so happy.
Right.
And she's such a happy baby. They're so happy. They're running around. They're screaming. They're laughing. They're playing with their toys. And it's scary because they're in Seattle, so you can see out their window the orange skies and the smoke and everything's on fire. And this baby is just so happy. She's just such a good kid that it really makes you realize that exactly what you said. It's a new day. Things are still going to happen. America and the world have been through terrible things before, and we always get through it. Strong people pull themselves up by their bootstraps, and if you're going to keep wallowing in the depression of what am I going to do? My sister told me the other day when I was calling her that she's a dental hygienist, and she came up with an entirely new career plan for herself in case
That's great.
the country ever shuts down again. She's going to go back to school to be a speech therapist.
Very nice.
It's like a very specific type of speech therapist. And, that's the way I think we need to be taking this is we've now lived through, I think, the worst of it for the pandemic. There's still fires and people are still in terrible need of money and homes and being evacuated. But if you keep pulling through, we're going to get through this. You just have to help your neighbor, love thy neighbor, and be strong. And
you can't let negativity interfere with your life. And I was going to pull it out, but I forgot. I have a mask that says "Stay Positive."
You do. It's a really cute one.
It's probably one of my favorite masks, and not only because it's pink tie-dye, but because of the saying. It says "Stay positive," and you have to remember. I feel like I'm one of the easiest people to just like dwell on things, and to be reminded of happy things, happy thoughts. I don't know if you've ever had a bad dream, and it's like you're up and you can't go back to sleep. Have one happy thought pop in your brain every single time, and I promise you will go right back to sleep, because that is my motto. Form your happy thought and you're good. So it's like Teddy with her niece, and to the point where I forgot that I was trying to make a point at the beginning of my whole dark spiel, but it's like when we're younger we don't realize what is going on around us. When I was younger and Wilma happened, I didn't realize how catastrophic that was. My mom has told me stories about how bad Wilma was. Like, our back doors were literally shaking. She was ready to grab all three of us and run to the bathroom because that was where we were supposed to go if things went south. But as an adult, I actually feel like I have more fears and anxiety over things because I know what could happen. I know the consequences. And it's like, you can't always dwell on that. You have to have your happy thought, have a smiling baby, have a happy puppy. Like, puppies literally are the epitome of little cute babies because they won't grow up to know what is happening. They're literally just, their main job in life, their purpose in life is to make you happy. You're happy, they're happy. So it's like, if you need a puppy in your life, go find one. Whenever I'm at work at the mall and I'm having a bad day, I don't know how this happens, but every single time I'm like in a bad moment, a dog walks by. And like that instantly changes my mood. So it's like, if you need a puppy love, puppy hug, go Google puppies if there's none around you. Because
No, yeah, you're totally right.
That is, go Google a happy baby. I'm sure there's memes of all those.
Go to a dog shelter or
Yeah.
a cat shelter and ask if you can just go in and play with them. I used to do that in high school. I used to volunteer at the Tri-County Humane Society in the cat room, and my job was literally to clean their litter boxes, clean the walls, and play with the cats. And it was a really awesome thing, and it helps de-stress you from everything.
And in this life we're all living right now, between the fires and the pandemic, and the 6 months ago, I kiddingly was like, oh, we're going to go into another Great Depression, because that was literally what we were after. And I feel like we've grown a lot. The world's grown a lot. And it's up from here, right? That saying is, you've hit rock bottom, it's only up. Now, I don't think we've completely hit rock bottom. I'm not trying to jinx it. Knock on wood. This table's wood. But there's nowhere but up, right? So I think we should leave that on that note. Nowhere but up. If you need a puppy, go Google one. Or a baby, something happy. Find your happy place. That is, I'm not doing a word of the week, motto of the week. Go find your happy place. Because it's hard, it's easy to get synced into these bad times, especially in your 20s, because it is the age of Great Depression, anxiety, overstimulated, the whole nine. So if you're lost, you'll be sunken for a little bit. Get out of that hole, because you woke up, right? You're still here. You woke up. Live life to the fullest is something Dawn and Freddie were talking about on their show this morning. And it's true. If you haven't traveled, if you had plans, a wedding, a trip that got canceled because of this pandemic, I was supposed to go on my first cruise in November. It's not happening because we don't feel comfortable going on a cruise in the middle of a pandemic. So we're not going. That was a Debbie Downer. But you know what? Live life to the fullest. I'll get to go on it again next year after. I don't know. It's not going to kill me if I don't do it anytime soon. I'd rather not get sick. So, go find a puppy. Go find your happy place and just live life. Okay? On that note, I will see you guys next week. Remember, Monday, 10:30. See you then. Here at Small Talk, we inspire to be different. We have guests from all sorts of topics, like bakeries, DJs, archery, advocacy on special topics, and just random thoughts. We also produce and edit videos and commercials. No amount of footage is too big or small. That is our motto. We can do fun experimental videos or documentaries on serious and fun topics. We are one-stop shop, as I like to call it. Call today at 866-224-5422 or email me at smalltalktv2020@gmail.com.